Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the 10 Minute Bundesliga Previews, a new segment where we give a quick summary of each team before the 2016-17 Bundesliga season. So we'll start by briefly discussing last season, then moving on to the off-season transfers, and then finally giving a 2016-17 preview, ending with a season prediction. And checking in at number 16, it's the Southampton of the Bundesliga. That's right, SC Freiburg. So you might not know, but SC Freiburg is famous for having been the employer of current Germany manager Jogi Löw, who is actually the club's all-time leading goal scorer with 81 goals in 252 games. Now go wash your hands. SC Freiburg are also famous for having Volker Finke as the club manager, who managed the club between 1991 and 2007 as the longest-serving coach in Bundesliga history. And also, in the 90s, you probably, if you're old enough, you might have remembered them employing the Georgian duo of Yashvili and Kobiashvili. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, Jörg Heinrich, who later went on to be really successful with Borussia Dortmund. Freiburg could actually put out a pretty good starting 11 out of just the guys that they've sold. The way that would look like would be Roman Bürki or Baumann of Hoffenheim would be the two goalkeepers. And then you would have guys like Matthias Ginter. In the back, you'd have Daniel Caligiuri, Vladimir Darida, Gelson Fernandez, and of course Max Kruse and Admir Mehmedi up top, even with somebody like Papi Cissé, who we haven't even talked about now. So mostly Freiburg are on a very tight budget and can't really spend a lot of money, but they seem to do pretty well, and that's probably down to their coach, who is Christian Streich, who's really one of the genuine good guys in football. Not only has he rebuilt the club since 2011 when he took over after being the youth coach, but he's actually had some very strong opinions about refugees, for example. There was a famous clip of him going on to talk about refugees, how we all used to be refugees, for about 8 minutes. You can actually find that on the entire speech translated on BundesligaFanatic.com under Christian Streich. We all used to be refugees. So he should probably get a lot of the credit, but let's actually talk about the last season for SC Freiburg. So as you know, they got relegated in 2014 and 15 after an unlucky spell with injuries where they started out pretty well and then ended up getting relegated. And they bounced back in a hurry. They won the Zweite Liga, the second Bundesliga in Germany, by 5 points clear of the evil empire known as RB Red Bull Rasenballsport Leipzig, if you prefer. And so Freiburg got 75 goals and 72 points from 34 matches, and they basically just stomped through the Zweite Bundesliga. And there are a couple guys responsible for that. First and foremost, it's Niels Petersen, who you might have just heard scored 5 goals in the Olympics against Fiji for Germany. He's a 27-year-old who's been sort of tossed around like a rag doll by Bayern Munich and Werder Bremen. And if you look at his transfer market value, it looks like the stock market on a kind of a crazy day. He scored so many goals at some point last year that he was scoring a goal every 60 minutes, which was a little bit better than Leo Messi and Luis Suarez and all those guys. And he's also he also had 21 goals overall in the Zweite Liga, and but even before that, like the year before that, he played a couple seasons at Werder Bremen, scoring 18 goals in 56 games, and then he moved in the transfer window in January to Freiburg and scored 9 goals in like 500 minutes. So that was when Freiburg were still in the first division. So he's definitely one to watch for the 2016-17 season. It's unclear that his scoring output will translate to the first division, but there is reasonable evidence that it will, especially if he has somebody providing him with some service. And there's none better than Vincenzo Grifo, who is a very Italian-sounding name, but is actually born in Germany. He's a 23-year-old, plays on the left wing, but he's right-footed. He had 14 goals and 15 assists last year after coming over from FSV Frankfurt, where he had 7 goals and 9 assists the year before. He actually broke in a little bit with Hoffenheim in the 2012-13 season and didn't get a lot of playing time, and now he's sort of bounced around, and he's 23 and was arguably one of the 3 or 4 best players in the Zweite Liga. And he will look to continue that, and he is really good at free kicks. I'm really hoping that he's kind of like the new Pascal Gross, who the Ingolstadt player that I really like. Other than him, there's another 2 guys that are important for the squad, who is Amir Abrashi, who is an Albanian. He is one half of the double pivot that Freiburg really like to play in the center of the park. And then Jonas Meffert, who actually just came over from Leverkusen. So Leverkusen have a million defensive midfielders, so they didn't really need the 21-year-old Meffert. And so he will look to partner Abrashi, the Albanian, in the center. And so after that, the back line has been kind of revamped for Freiburg, which is interesting. Right before the new season, they brought in a Turkish second division center back, Taglar Shuyuncu, for $2.5 million, and then they've also brought in Manuel Gulde from Karlsruhe as another center back, and I've mentioned Meffert before, and then the veteran 25-year-old right back from Frankfurt, Alexander Ignovsky, who has a decent amount of Bundesliga experience. So they look to have solidified their squad for the new season. But my biggest concern, and this will be going into the predictions next year, will just be the squad depth. So as I've mentioned before, Freiburg don't really have a very high budget, and they're often forced to sell their players. So as I mentioned, whether it's somebody like Mehmedi or Darida or Jonathan Schmid or even Roman Burki, who all left after after they got relegated, or even the years before where they sold young guys like Matthias Ginter or Baumann as the goalkeeper. They don't really bring in a lot of talent. They don't really bring in a lot of players who are expensive. They tend to bring in guys who are pretty young, and that can be a problem. I mean, Christian Streich is sort of famous for giving his young guys a lot of leeway and giving his young guys a lot of confidence, but those kind of things can very quickly backfire. I just have to mention sort of VfB Stuttgart and Alex Dorniger and how that experiment went terribly awry in the beginning of the Hinrunde last year. So my prediction for them is that they're going to struggle to defend for the most part, and I don't think that their attack will be as great, just because it'll be much harder to score against sort of the quality Bundesliga sides. And if anything happens to Vincenzo Grifo, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, because Nils Peterson will rely on service from him. There's other guys as well, like Florian Niederlechner is a decent option. He scored about 8 goals last season in the second division in limited minutes. And they brought in Umur Bulut, who's a Turkish guy from as a right winger. So there will be some reinforcements coming, but basically I see this squad struggling, and ultimately I think they'll be in the 16th spot and probably will have to play the relegation playoff Just because, and even somebody like Niels Peterson might be tired from the Olympics. He's still there. He'll just be back like right before the season starts, and I'm not sure how their defense will gel and hold up because all the people that have come in are, except for like Mark Oliver Kemp, they are all newcomers, so they might take some time to gel. So overall, I'd probably see them 16th, but I'd really like to see them stay in the league because they're an exciting, historic squad. So that's the preview for the 10-minute preview for Freiburg, and we'll be back with more. Stay tuned. You can follow us as always on SoundCloud at BundesPL. You can also follow us on Twitter at BundesPL or at BamBestinESL. Until next time, thank you guys.